Hello everybody and welcome to our weekly vlog. I would like to give this vlog a title and I call it Those in the Shadow. And I will define in the course of the vlog what I actually mean by that. There are lines in Bertolt Brecht's Threepenny Opera or John Gay's Beggar's Opera, on which a lot of the Threepenny Opera is based on, which are going as follows. And there are the ones in the light and there are ones in the dark, and you only see the ones in the light. Those ones in the dark you don't see. I've used those lines many a times in worship on numerous occasions for various purposes. This time I would like to use those lines not as a statement but as a motive to ask a question. If that is a fact, that there are those in the shadows and those in the light, is that something which has to prevail forever? Are there just the people changing? So it's like a swap over with the ones who move into the light and the ones who move into the darkness? Or is it not a question of justice to give everybody who wants to have it access to the light? And because this is a vlog which poses philosophical, spiritual and religious question, we might as well ask ourselves, what role does God and or our belief system play in that? And that is as much as I would like to have for the introduction. And in this all-encompassing mood, I would like to follow this with a second prayer by Maureen Killoran, which is called Blessed Are All Living Things. For the blessing of animal companions we give thanks, for the beautiful ones, those whose fur is silky and whose tails are long, whose feathers are brilliant and whose voices are splendid, we give thanks. For the frantic ones, the ones and the hungry, who run for a food bowl or a pat, as though this is life's last possible gift, we give thanks. For the obnoxious one, the heads that butt against us when we are trying to sleep, the bodies that refuse to learn discretion when they make digestive gifts, we give thanks. For those who bark and purr and growl and mew, for all who squeak and squawk or snarl or hiss, we give thanks. For the animals unknown to us, those whose niche in life's web is fragile, whose lives are insecure, for all who care for them and wish them well, we give thanks. Blessed are the animals, blessed are the creatures who live with us and need our care. Blessed are the mammals and the reptiles and the birds who teach us that we are not alone. Blessed are all living things from whom we learn to love. Words by Maureen Killoran. In all Abrahamic religion nowadays, we strive for an equality before God. Abrahamic religions, that is Judaism, Christianity and Islam. In Buddhism and many indigenous beliefs, there is the care for all sentient beings in the middle of the belief. So we have this part of the question not sorted, but we have something like the beginning of an answer to it. Historically speaking, that was not always like that, and this is not a history lecture, so people who are not that fond of history can relax. But we have also to see that people in the shadows sometimes actually need more. It is not always giving the right amount to it is always about giving the right amount to everybody, but that might not be the same amount. This is what we call positive discrimination. We have recently seen with the Black Lives Matter campaign that positive discrimination still is necessary, and every woman should be aware that we as women have benefited from positive discrimination when at the beginning of the last century, the 20th one, women started to fight for a place in public, political, spiritual and religious life. And the fight was a long one. And if we go back to a source material, Jesus in the Bible is a positive discriminator. He surrounds himself with the outcasts of his time, the tax collector, the prostitutes, the lepers, to name but a few. But it is not a one-sided thing. It's not us being the good ones, us being in the light, drawing the ones out of the shadow. Because we don't know till we go towards the ones in the shadow what the ones in the shadow have to give. This next thing, I admit unashamedly, I nicked from Tom. And because I want to be accurate, I will actually read that from my notebook. So just bear with me for a tiny little moment. Tom has used that actually in a funeral service. Blessed be the gentle, not for what they may inherit in this kingdom or any other. Blessed be the gentle for everything that we inherit because of their gentleness. There it is, the unexpected gift. There it is, the role reversal. And if we just concentrate on the one standing in the light, we will never be the receivers of this gift. And where that ties in with is something I had seen some years ago, and it was a documentary about some young adults who were regular church attender. The church was connected to the residential institution where they all lived, and the church needed to be restored. And they were asked what they wanted in the church. And believe it or not, these were young adults with severe learning disabilities. But that didn't prevent them from having clear-cut ideas. I've forgotten quite a lot of the suggestions they made, but two things still stick in my memory. One was a young man who said, I don't want Christ to be nailed perpetually on the cross. I thought, hey, fellow believer, I don't want Christ perpetually nailed on the cross, and all my life I refused to wear a crucifix. So he wanted a Christ with outstretched, blessing arms, which look as if Christ wanted to hug you. And there was a young woman who said a church needs lots of angels. The first service was held there, and all our young learning disabled sat there, and they were proud, and the church looked beautiful. And you saw exactly a Christ like that, outstretched arms, wanting to hug you. But where were the angels? Now you had to look down, and in the pattern of the floor, quite crudely, were designs of angels integrated. So wherever your path took to, you were guided by angels. If you can't see the beauty of that, then God has not given you ears or eyes or any other of your five senses, because that is just so wonderful. And this is actually probably a good point to finish, because it's a vlog and it's exhausting to listen to somebody for too long. But I would just like to say, we have no fixed places in the light or in the shadow. We are sometimes shadow people, we are sometimes light bearers. Whatever we are loved. And take that from somebody who has been on both sides too, and considers herself the biggest square peg in a round hole, and quite at home at it. Or, as Bernard Shaw said when he finished essays on the English language, take that from an Irishman. I'm not Irish, but I know what it's like to be different. But different is beautiful. We are all different. We are all beautiful. And walk through the coming week in the security of this beauty. Amen. Now I would like to invite you to follow me on a guided reflection meditation for those in the shadow. We all work with boxes, sometimes unconsciously, often subconsciously. Not that often, actually totally consciously. The usefulness of boxes for putting an order into the plethora of things which surround us is undeniable. But could we please limit the use of boxes for tidying up our houses, our offices, our dwelling places? You don't tidy away creatures. You should not tidy away, and I normally try to avoid should not constructions, but this time I feel strongly enough. You should not tidy away human beings. But we all do it, and I don't think there's anybody who doesn't do it. I do it. And what I would just like you to do, and I urge you to stop listening to the vlog for a bit afterwards, to give yourself just a bit of time to reflect about this, is to go into your own mind. When do I do it? Why do I do it? And when did I come actually a copper with that? Or when did I think it was actually useful? And I just would like you to be as non-judgmental towards yourself, because I don't think it's done in ill intent, not by the people who are subscribing to my vlog and whom I actually know. It is not the ill intent which causes the harm, but harm might be caused anyway. So reflect for which reason you put people into boxes. also reflect in which boxes have I ended up in. How did that feel? I have plenty of experience being a non-British person living in the UK with ending up in one box or another. I mean, if I had that many boxes to tidy my stuff away, I think my house would look a darn sight tidier. So just go and do a bit of unboxing in peace, in your own time, and we speak to each other soon. Now, I'm not only for the underbird, I'm for all the ones who, for one reason or another, are put into a box which, if we label it, has this label not that nice on it. Because I think we do that to animals, we do that probably to a lot more things and people, and sometimes I think it does do us some good to reflect in our own mind for the justification for that one. And a lot of Americans, especially US American whites, will think coyotes are a pest. Coyotes in the Native American cultures were revered. And just as an example, these are some words from the Shoshone tribe. With his brother the wolf, Coyote created the world. After death, the human spirit then enters the land of Coyote, where the wolf revives and bases the soul so it can take its place in eternal peace. Now, there is an underdog, in inverted comma, to being promoted. Just food for thoughts. I've also, just by sheer serendipity, found out that some Tibetan tribes revere vultures and eagles equally. Again, that made my thoughts run on a similar line. What we call savage, what we call wild, what we call untamed, it is our perspective. It is not an eternal perspective. And if I have read God correctly, if my interpretation is correct, it's not God's perspective either. And just on the question of perspective, these are words by Standing Bear, and he is a Lakota Sioux. We do not think of the great open plains, the beautiful rolling hills and winding streams with tangled growth as wild. Only the white man thought of nature as a wilderness, and only to him was the land infested with wild animals and savage people. When the very animals of the forest began fleeing from his approach, then it was that for us the Wild West began. Triggered off were these reflections, in my case, by the fact that the Now Shut bookshop, cum bric-a-brac shop, which we run on the premises next to the church, has a brand new mural, and it has a rainbow. Now, rainbows are immensely popular at the moment, and it's a lovely rainbow. Thank you, Josephine, for painting it. But when Josephine was painting it, I said, I want a raven. And she said, why do you want the raven? I said, you can't have the rainbow without the raven. Because the raven was sent out from Noah to check out if the floods had subsided. And I loved the fact that I knew that by the fact Me not being that well versed in the Bible and happily admitting to it, because I just think everybody, or everybody, but a lot of people, think it is a dove. It needs to be a sweet dove. And it probably was an old raven with feathers which weren't that black and gleaming any longer. At least I hope it was one. And now we have got a raven. And my husband Tom immediately created a new word for the English language. My wife, he said, is in favor of the underbird. Now, I don't know if the underbird will catch on, but I'm definitely in favor of the underdog. And especially when the underdog is not a dog.